I'm Agent Morris with the NSA.
There is something real here.
Do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
And where?
I know the exact locations, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General and some of which to the intelligence committees. I actually had the people with the first-hand knowledge provide a protected disclosure to the Inspector General. Biologics came to some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Those could represent exquisite new adversary technology.
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
The government is covering up some level of its knowledge and understanding about what some of those things are.
The Soul Foundation, which just announced a new initiative for UFO research and policy.
It's nuts, man. I mean, we're just small-town buds who saw a UFO in the woods. I mean, now we're hanging out with the government.
Wow. What floor were you guys on?
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another weekly live edition of Anomaly Now, straight out of Austin, Texas. I'm your host, Miles Lewis. This is the weekly live media news roundup for the 501c3 nonprofit Scientific Anomaly Institute, aka the Anomaly Archives. Do the social media routine. Please, it helps the algorithms that rule our lives. Hey, you can find out more about us by going to our website. That is anomalyarchives.org. You can also go to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/anomalyarchives. And you can find out all the ways that you can support us. You can subscribe for free and just get updates as you see fit. And we are providing a live online lecture presentation from various Fortean paranormal, anomalist, ufological, paranormal, psychological weirdos, seekers every month. If you're subscribed at the $10 a month Patreon tier, that is the Anomaly Academy cadet level or higher. And sometimes we give access to the lower tiers just because we're such nice people. But yeah, that's over at patreon.com/anomalyarchives. And as you probably already know, you can go to our Flipboard over at flipboard.com/@anomalyarchives. And you can find thousands of links going back years and years and years to all the news articles that we often cover in this weekly show, or many that we never get the chance to cover because there's just too much news to cover. I was just telling our volunteer Victor that I think this poor little computer is overtaxed tonight because I've got so many tabs open for tonight's show. And let's, with that, jump right in. So I must have mentioned this last week, but maybe not, or the week before that. But back on September 17th, The Hill, that is thehill.com, reported Senate Armed Services Committee to hold UFO hearing. So we've been hearing that there's going to be another hearing. And Kirsten Gillibrand, pictured here at thehill.com, is been saying on and off the record that there is likely going to be another hearing coming up very soon in the months to come. Of course, this would have been fantastic on the heels of the passage of the the UAPDA, the UAP Disclosure Act, the bill that was introduced not once, not twice, well, twice, and then apparently didn't go forward. So that is the newest news. And I've only seen this reported here at liberationtimes.com. Paradigm-changing UFO transparency legislation fails in Congress for second consecutive year. And if this reporting is accurate, it appears to be the fault of Senator Rand Paul. So you can figure that one out yourself. But yeah, it says here the UAPDA's inclusion within the manager's package hinged upon support for the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs due to its potential oversight role and involvement in a controlled UAP disclosure campaign should it have been passed. However, sources state that the UAPDA UAPDA failed to be included within the manager's package due to resistance from that committee's Republican ranking member, Senator Rand Paul. Liberation Times has requested comment from Senator Paul's office. September 25th, update. After initially declining to comment on the record via email, a staffer from Senator Rand Paul's office has now told Liberation Times through phone call that the senator cleared the UAPDA to be included within the manager's package. Oh, wait! In a separate phone transcript obtained by Liberation Times, a staff member states, quote, Senator Paul cleared that amendment, so any delay was not due to his actions. Notably, in 2021, Senator Paul implied that $22 million secured by the late Senator Harry Reid for a UAP program was a bad use of government money. I can think of many ways that are much worse than this, but this article over at Liberation Times goes on to say it marks the second successive failure for the UAPDA, which was gutted by NDAA fiscal year 2024 due to opposition from multiple fronts, most notably Representative Mike Turner and other leaders within the House. Of note, following its gutting from NDAA fiscal year 2024, Senator Schumer stated that multiple credible sources notified him and Senator Rounds that information on UAP has been withheld from Congress. Quote, we've also been notified by multiple credible sources that information on UAPs has also been withheld from Congress, which, if true, is a violation of laws requiring full notification to the legislative branch, especially as it relates to the 4 congressional leaders, the defense committees, and the intelligence committees. So we'll, of course, put all the links to this night's show notes, all the links to the news we covered in tonight's show in the show notes. That usually happens tomorrow. And you'll have to go to anomalyarchives.org or look at the subsequent postings of tonight's show. We just never put them in this night's YouTube channel show notes or wherever you might be looking at it. Meanwhile, there is so much to get into. So over at, we got word from the newparadigminstitute.org, that is Daniel Sheehan's organization, New Paradigm Institute and Visible College partner to support Yale Student UFO Society, first UAP disclosure teach-in. Again, this is from newparadigminstitute.org. And is basically a press release, which is getting some mainstream distribution. Let's see. I forget exactly where, but let's see. I know it's being covered in everywhere from Sacramento, California, Los Angeles, California, to Augusta, Georgia. In fact, let's see if I can bring that up here. I know I have it somewhere. So besides the press release over at the New Paradigm Institute for the first ever UAP teach-in will be held on Friday, September 27th, 2024 at Yale University. It's unclear. It looks like this is going to be open to the public, but it looks like it's in person only. We've got an email out to them to find out if there's going to be a live stream, but it does not look like that is the case. But like I said, this is getting some news coverage. Oh, here we go. Over at Augusta, Georgia, they have reproduced the press release for this, and oh, look at their cute little skull and bones alien. The Yale Student UFO Society has a cute little gray alien head with skull and bones beneath it. But yeah, so such, again, news outlets as this WJBF.com, which appears to be an ABC affiliate in Augusta, Georgia, as well as KTLA, that would be the Los Angeles, what is that? I'm not sure if that's Fox or what, but they also are reproducing this. And then we've got a third link. I'm sure there's more, but those are the ones that I noticed. Now, just jumping back for a second, if you are unfamiliar with the UAPDA, the UAP Disclosure Act, you can go to uapcaucus.com/UAPDA, and they have a rundown of the basics. If you're wondering about what is the nature of that legislation, as they point out here, the key points creates a centralized UAP records collection at the National Archives, establishes an independent review board to oversee the disclosure process, mandates the review and potential release of historical UAP records, sets clear criteria for the postponement of disclosure when necessary. So there, some of the contention in the UAPDA has been the eminent domain, the forced handover of alleged UAP, UFO materials, property of whoever they might be in the hands of, these supposed Black Project secret programs, SAPs, special access programs, what are often referred to as the legacy programs, or other independent researchers who have these materials. They might be called upon to give it here, hand it over to the government. So that has a few people up in arms. But so yes, we mentioned this newparadigminstitute.org announcement about this partnering with them and the Yale Student UFO Society, and that this really caught my attention. The Visible College, of course. The Visible College is a phrase that has become more and more popularized, largely through, I'd say, the efforts of religious studies professor Diana Pasulka, post her book in 2019, when her first book American Cosmic came out, and she, of course, began interacting years before with the likes of Jacques Vallée, who Jacques Vallée and J. Allen Hynek had described their network of academic researchers interested in the UFO phenomena as the Invisible College, as a reference to the classic old, hundreds of years past, secret scientist organization that was trying to enlighten scientific research in secret, because of course the world was then ruled by churches that found it all rather heretical. And at some point, as I pointed out to Diana in an email, J. Allen Hynek had said, what we need is a visible college. We need to take our invisible college and make it visible. But of course, until there's more mainstream acceptance of this, that can't happen. Well, we have been watching since 2017 that happening, for good or ill, you decide. But you can go to thevisiblecollege.org and learn more about this organization, whose mission is, our goal is to produce, collaborate on, curate, and share high-quality research and educational materials that enable other researchers, policymakers, and the public to better understand this complex topic. We do not advocate for any particular conclusions, nor do we make any claims to exclusive knowledge or authority. Our group is bound only by our common commitment to open-minded, rigorous inquiry, and by our belief that the best way to make progress is to work together in the open. Now, one of the things that caught my attention here is, let's see, where is it? Now I'm not seeing it. Okay, well, somewhere on their website, they mentioned that they are not affiliated with any other organization that might have existed with the same name, the Visible College, previous to September 2024. So this is apparently a brand new launched organization. Obviously, there's been some time and energy put behind it. But I found that note interesting because, of course, I have owned a Visible College domain name for decades, since I think like 1999 or 2000. Not that they were necessarily referencing us and our efforts, but anyway. But there's also this other organization, the YSUS, the Yale Student UFO Society, and they are over at yaleconnect.yale.edu/YSUS/home. And there's more information about them there. Interesting group of people. Sydney Morrison is the president, seems to be the main force behind this. And there again is that cute little alien skull and bones. But yeah, check all that out. It'd be interesting to see. Hopefully, I'm assuming nowadays that it's standard practice that folks are gonna, record this presentation, hopefully, and make that video available online. If they're not streaming it live, that it'll be put online eventually, but we'll keep you posted on that. And of course, we'll flip it over into the Flipboard and publicize that, because I'm very interested to see what comes of such efforts. All right, moving right along. Going to jump over to, so what else is going on in the UFO UAP world? Again, the New Paradigm Institute is going to be doing a global disclosure day, because of course in the original I don't know if it's legislation or what have you, but the United States government's various alphabet agencies, all the organizations have been tasked with providing to Congress all their available information from their departments, their agencies on UFOs. And the due date, I believe, was October 19th or 20th. And so New Paradigm Institute is declaring October 20th as Global Disclosure Day, and you can sign up to be notified there. I believe it's, going to be a day-long streamed event with material about the subject. Their website says, "We are very excited to announce the first Global Disclosure Day on October 20th, 1 p.m. Eastern. On this day, our citizens for disclosure groups in 43 states and around the world will convene watch parties for a 2-hour live stream event. This first of its kind event will feature notable speakers in the disclosure movement, testimonials from local activist groups, and special videos about the latest information on UAP. Yada, yada. We are witnessing a major sea change in the history of the UFO UAP campaign." Absolutely. Again, for better or worse, folks. But there's some other interesting events going on. This one isn't exactly UFO related, but I want to bring your attention to this. The EdgarCasey.org website is promoting their upcoming event, Ancient Mysteries, Uncover Earth Secrets, Discover the Fascinating Realms of Ancient Knowledge, featuring world-renowned ancient mystery experts, including, I believe, yes, there we go, David Hatcher Childress, often described as the real-world Indiana Jones, Jim Vieira, John Van Auken, Hugh Newman, Manu Sefzada, Mark Antony, Christy George, Allison Ray, others, Laura Hoff. And you can find out more about this over at EdgarCasey.org. And of course, we'll put it in the show notes. But jumping back to some more UFO news, because there is just a lot of UFO news in tonight's lineup. Interesting long article here at the LA Review of Books. That's lareviewofbooks.org. From just a couple of days ago, Michael Sokolow has this article, Johnny Mack and the Unbelievable UFO Truth. Now, this article, it's pretty harsh on the subject of alien abductions, and it reflects, it accurately reflects the kind of derision that experiencers, abductees, UFO encountrants, close encounter witnesses have faced. And of course, John Mack, the Harvard psychiatrist, faced this ridicule factor head on and tried to lend his cachet, his notoriety, his respectability to the subject. But this article reminds us that it is 20 years to the day on September 27th when John Mack was taken from the world due to his looking the wrong way on the road as he began to cross it in London one night, when he was then struck by a drunk driver. He was 74 years old at the time, and he was there to accept an honor related to his Pulitzer Prize winning biography from 1977, the book A Prince of Our Disorder, The Life of T.E. Lawrence. Now, this article does not really, I don't think it ever mentions the fact that there's been this recent biography by Ralph Blumenthal, one of the authors who brought forth the OSAP ATIP Pentagon UFO program in the 2017 articles, along with Leslie Kane and Helene Cooper at the New York Times. But and as I say, this article is pretty much just recapping, for those who aren't familiar, that controversial time as John Mack took so much flack from his peers and the media and everybody, just laying so much ridicule and laughter upon his feelings of the importance of the UFO witnesses, the abduction experiencers. But there is, and they mentioned the fact that the memory wars, a title of a book at the time, how hypnosis rightly became the target of people's derision, in terms of this is not necessarily the best tool, if it's really a bad tool perhaps to use to uncover quote unquote truth and reality. But there's at least this one paragraph I wanted to read here, if I can find it again. There we go. Nope. Yeah, here we go. The tragic car accident in London 20 years ago erased popular memory of the public and institutional controversies spawned by Mack's quirky research. First of all, I totally disagree with that, but that I'm somebody who's obsessed with and focused on the subject. So, yet Mack's story lends relevant context to several of today's challenges in describing and communicating reality. In 2024, with discussion flourishing everywhere about misinformation, disinformation, and whether shared communicative realities can even exist, revisiting Mack's work offers timely lessons concerning the boundaries of inquiry. His quest to explore and tentatively confirm the veracity of stories so outlandish as to be almost laughable seemed almost humorous decades ago. That he appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show to discuss alien abduction only served to further distance his research from serious academic inquiry. Well, you know what? People watch these shows, whether you think highly of that kind of a show like Oprah Winfrey's and all the proliferation of those kinds of talk shows. They were popular. People are interested in these stories of people. And that is something that is severely lacking, as I've said repeatedly, in this new wave of UFO popularity, is that we are hearing significantly less from the very experiencers, witnesses to these phenomena. Oh, yes, we might hear a military pilot describe what they saw through the canopy. And yes, sometimes they might open up about how that odd experience changed their life. But that's a very different thing than somebody who sees a ball of light come through the wall, morph into a being at the foot of their bed, and proceed to instigate seemingly a wild array of nonsensical, outlandish, unbelievable experiences upon the witness. And it's important to also remind folks that, yes, Mack used hypnosis, as did much worse abduction researchers than he. But the fact also remains that a large number of experiencers and abductees never undergo hypnosis, that they had conscious recall of their experiences. Now, those experiences often had as strange a tenor as those that emerge under hypnosis. And there are certainly no conclusions that should be jumped to, regardless of whether hypnosis was used or not, other than hypnosis is not a lie detector test, which is also incredibly fallible and a false named device. Anyway, you might want to check this article out. It's lengthy. Like I say, it's quite dismissive and derisive, but I actually think, despite that, it's a pretty good article reaffirming the history of this important time when a very reputable and respectable academic started looking into this important subject. Now, we, of course, in previous episodes have been talking a lot about Lou Elizondo's new book and how much press coverage he's getting. And I've alluded to the fact that Jay Stratton who worked with and over Lou Elizondo, has got his own book coming out. And sure enough, Deadline.com is reporting HarperCollins acquires rights to bombshell memoir from Jay Stratton, former director of U.S. government's UAP task force, and the previous incarnations. I don't know. The whole timeline is so convoluted. It's really hard to explain to anybody, and I get it all confused in my own head. So I'm not even going to try. But and I have not had the chance to read this article, but I am very curious to hear this other person's version of the history and the timeline. Now, something a little more fun, perhaps, is this. This is in the Google Translate version from the Spanish, I believe, over at ovniologia.com. Silent boomerang UFO filmed over Texas. A rare one. So basically, there is this UFO video. I'm not going to play it, but basically, what you see here is about all you get in the video. There is no information in the video image because of the way it's been cropped and edited to give you any sense of perspective. I mean, it could so easily be a hoax. I believe it's identified as having been seen over Amarillo. Where does it say that? Does it say that? Am I misremembering? No, there we go. Mr. Miller, upon seeing the light passing through the darkness of the sky in silence, immediately filmed it using the zoom and making this impressive record. The video was filmed on August 5th, 2024 in Amarillo, Texas. It looks very much like the drawings of the alleged flying wing that was seen in the Phoenix Lights case back in the mid to late 90s. And that in and of itself makes me wonder if it's a hoax imitating that. But interestingly, the very final paragraph says the footage was sent to ufologist Philippe Van Putten, who shared it here with Ovniologia for the public. The video made available is an edited composition with cuts and highlights to facilitate analysis and study. Research has been conducted to verify the authenticity of the recording. Well, I reached out to Philippe and said, I understand that you have the original video, or do you have the original video? He says he does not. So it makes me wonder, does he have just a copy, or does he only have this edited version that was provided to him? Long story short, it's useless. I mean, hopefully somebody is following up with the alleged witness and can verify at least that this person really did experience this and record this. But the video is just classic. Like, don't just zoom in with your camera. Try to get whatever object you are recording in the frame with other objects like trees and streetlights and tops of houses, things that can be, or if you can at least even see the stars in the background. All these things can help in the later analysis of the footage. Now, not promoting this, but I was made aware of this post over at medium.com by somebody going by @EscapeVelocity1. I think this is like a 6-part rambling quotathon, but there is some interesting information in here, but it's largely actually more of a parapolitical conspiracy diatribe than a UFO explication. But if you've got the time and you're inclined to wade through that kind of thing, you might give it a try. I believe all but maybe one of the parts, the 6-part articles, are all available for free. Part 1 is George H.W. Bush and UAP secrecy. The UFO crash retrieval story is the biggest corruption case in modern history and involves the Nazi-funded Bush family and others in their orbit who created the CIA to hide the UFO UAP program and make themselves global leaders via the oil business while hiding free energy and keeping us in forever wars. The views expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of myself or the nonprofit that I represent. On the other hand, I personally, there's a lot here that I'm like, yes, this is what, or I've been led in my belief system. over the last 20, 30 plus years as a conspiracy researcher, parapolitical researcher, as somebody who's investigated the horrific history of the alphabet agencies, the military industrial complex, the Bush regime, and their connections to the Nazis and the importation of Nazis after the World War II. There's some very interesting bits of information here. And if you aren't familiar with any of that, this could be a very good education. But as I say, it's a bit excessive in its quoting of various sources, but it's trying to assemble a lot of the data points that have been coming out through sources such as Daniel Sheehan and Lou Elizondo and others, and it also re-amplifies an idea that has been around for a while, but has apparently caught the zeitgeist in the last couple of weeks, which is this idea that Dick Cheney is at the head of the UFO octopus, that Dick Cheney is the one who is still alive and active, who has had the deepest connections to the UFO espionage underworld. Make of that what you will. And if, like I say, if you're interested, you can dive into this, but it's not pretty, folks, the history of these kinds of things in America. Now let's see which. So I'm going to be jumping around a bit here and see if I can get rid of some of these tabs to help my computer along. So over at discovermagazine.com is this article, "Is Ball Lightning Real? The Science Behind Nature's Strangest Light Show." Now, this is one of those things that it's crazy to me that people still wonder if ball lightning it exists. Is it a real thing? And that's because it's like UFOs. We seemingly haven't been able to get it in the lab, reproduce it on demand, get good footage of it. Seems like every year or so we get some footage that goes viral that purports to be ball lightning. There was the last one I remember seeing was some train track footage that seemed to show a ball of light attributed as ball lightning rolling across the tracks, maybe into the woods or something, which doesn't exactly sound like typical ball lightning behavior. But this article goes into just the strange fact that it is not necessarily acknowledged as a real thing. But if it is, the different theories that have been ascribed to explain how it works. Now, I've probably told these stories a couple of times over the years, but I've had two near brushes with ball lightning, or what was most likely ball lightning. Balls of light were seen nearby where I was on two different occasions, and unfortunately I missed it both times. When I was in elementary school here in Austin, there is a place just outside of town called Pioneer Farms. It is a recreation of an old farm, an old village, to give people the sense of life. It's kind of like a Ren Fair kind of environment, only it's not that far back. But just like what was life like on the prairie kind of a thing, with haylofts and log cabins and that sort of thing, candle making activities, that sort of thing for the family, very family friendly fun. And our elementary school class, boys and girls, were taken out for an overnight excursion to Pioneer Farms. The boys were relegated to the barn, so we had to sleep in the hay in the barn. Just massive, at least to my small stature at the time, huge, tall, open air barn. And the young ladies, the girls, got to stay in the 2-story log cabin, or rather the log cabin with a loft as the second floor. And the story goes, so that night there was a massive Texas thunderstorm, lightning, just really just a barn raiser, as they or just crazy storm. And the next day, we were told or heard, and I've since confirmed this with some of the girls I'm still friends with from elementary school, that yes, indeed, a ball of light entered the loft where the girls were, and everybody seemed to just agree this was ball lightning. I mean, there's a thunderstorm, but ball lightning doesn't always coincide with thunderstorms, though typically there's at least some kind of thunderstorm activity in the distance. So there was that instance where I'm like, I don't know, 100 yards or less away from where this occurred, but didn't know about it till the next day. Then years later, as a young adult, post high school, I'm visiting some friends just outside of Austin near one of the lakes. And we'd gone down away from the house to this depression, this kind of bowl-like depression in the ground that was on the path leading to, I believe, the river, the lake. Didn't really go past that is my memory of it. And then I left. So I actually wasn't really close by when this happened. But shortly after I left the party, some friends were down in that same area and saw a ball of light moving against the wind. And there had been, again, like the threat of thunderstorms, because I remember they had a trampoline next to the house, and I remember jumping on the trampoline and being worried that, like, maybe I shouldn't be jumping up into the air when there's lightning about to occur in the area. It just seemed like a dangerous activity. Plus, the metal springs and of the metal frame of the trampoline just seemed dangerous to me. But yeah, ball lightning was seen within an hour or so of my leaving that area. So sadly, I have still not seen balls of light like that. But so we'll put the link to that. Is ball lightning real? The science behind nature's strangest light show. That links to discovermagazine.com. On a similar note, we have. Have I used up my free? PopularMechanics.com. Mysterious plasma bubbles have appeared over the pyramids. China caught these strange atmospheric phenomena on advanced radar, but they aren't aliens. Well, of course not. Now, this article talks about a type of radar, long-range ionospheric radar, LARID, that the Chinese have for powerful low-latitude, long-range sensing, located on the Hainan, Hainan island, and that it has detected plasma bubbles above the Midway Islands and the pyramids of ancient Egypt. Now, this isn't that... this isn't what I thought it was going to be, but the article says on August 27th, the Institute of Geology and Geophysics, a part of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, announced that LARID, L-A-R-I-D, detected these plasma bubbles during a solar storm back in early November of 2023. With a detection range of nearly 6,000 miles, LARID can detect these bubbles as far as Hawaii in the east or Libya in the west by blasting high-powered electromagnetic waves into the ionosphere, which can then bounce along vast distances. Now, it describes that we have a different technique for tracking these anomalies. NASA has its global scale observations of the limb and disk, the GOLD mission, basically a satellite appendage attached to a commercial satellite to track potential EPBs across the Earth. While GOLD, G-O-L-D, often detect bubbles during periods of intense disturbance, such as solar storms and volcanic eruptions, the mission detected bubbles during relatively quiet atmospheric moments as well, and showcased that there's more to learn about these mysterious bubbles. Now, they go on to say basically that the Chinese are also saying, oh, by the way, this can help us detect military aircraft. According to reports from official Chinese media, over-the-horizon military radars using similar technologies have been widely deployed by the Chinese military and have detected targets, including F-22 stealth fighter jets. Which makes me wonder about this other article over at futurism.com, their section called The Byte, B-Y-T-E. Chinese researchers say they can detect stealth aircraft using Starlink satellites. Not going to go too much into this other than to say it's kind of like what the other thing was referring to. And this just gets into the kind of advanced sensing technology that is available to our governments and their militaries, paid for with our tax dollars, the ones that are ours, which could be brought to bear on trying to detect such things as UFOs, UAP. Let's see. And I'm going to just keep jumping here quickly to these other articles. Over at SmithsonianMag.com, rare jaw fossils discovered in Texas shed light on a 20-foot-long mosasaur unearthed last year. The remains could reveal new information on the extinct sea reptile, which crushed mollusks and shelled creatures with its large, round teeth. There's a nice artist rendering there. And with some actual photographs of the jaw bones, which have these knobby, as they say, nubby, rounded teeth still attached. Love this kind of stuff being found here in Texas. The article says, mosasaurs went extinct at the same time as the dinosaurs, similarly killed off by the ecological effects of a large asteroid colliding with Earth around 66 million years ago. And also here in Texas, we have this from, what is this website? PEN P-E-N News. Chupacabra caught on camera? Alien presence in Texas leaves experts stumped. Yeah, game camera footage, we all know, can be very deceiving, but you often get some very strange things on these camera images. This article says a mysterious creature has been branded a chupacabra and a skinwalker after its photo was captured by a trail cam. Michael Dumas Dimmel knew something was off when he checked his trail cam near Dubina, a rural community in the U.S. state of Texas. He said, I have 3 different cameras at the 3 different hunting areas. They catch coyote, deer, bobcats, rabbits, raccoons, and foxes. I look at approximately 100 plus pics a day from the 3 cameras, but that was the only photo that it showed up on. My first reaction was something doesn't look right, so I stopped on the picture to zoom in. It does look weird, but I mean, again, these are game cameras. They're not usually high resolution. Of course, they're night vision, so that's also detracting from it. Yeah, just looks like it could just be just about anything, really. And most quote-unquote chupacabras in Texas turn out to usually be coyotes with mange, or possibly hairless dogs that are of a certain variety. There's been some other weird stuff cited as well, but hey, there he is. There's the guy that took the picture. Let's see. Oh, it mentions, as for a potential ID, the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department drew a blank. A spokesperson said, I reached out to our mammologist, and due to the quality of the image, a positive identification of the animal is not possible. Meanwhile, the Texas Parks and Wildlife YouTube channel has a nearly 9-minute video about Texas Bigfoot and historic Texas cryptid sightings. I highly recommend this. There's some rare archival footage of from reporting on the Greer Island monster that was this kind of hairy, maybe goat-like critter that allegedly threw a tire at passersby in a park that I think is called Greer Island. There's a lot of material in this episode featuring our Texas cryptozoologists like Lyle Blackburn and our good friend Craig Woolheater, who hosts the Texas Bigfoot Conference in Jefferson, Texas. Of course, he also has started putting on, and this year was, I believe, the 3rd year, the Texas UFO Conference. He also does a Bigfoot film festival. But yeah, a new TPW, Texas Parks and Wildlife, had been working on this for some time, and it is now available on their website. And you might enjoy taking a look at that. Oh, did I skip some other things? I think I did. Oh my God, a whole other raft of tabs. Okay, folks. Well, here is. Let's see. These will go quickly. Right, sure they will. So, we've been reporting on Professor Simon talking about the alleged detection of a civilization signal from old SETI at home processed data, and how this is leaking out slowly in the form of mainstream articles talking about the billions, if not trillions of dollars that are being poured into new efforts at detecting civilization signatures in radio telescope data. This fun podcast, Psychoactivo podcast, that's PSICO Activo podcast. This host has been reporting on that as well, saying that he is also in contact with people who are more or less saying the same thing as him. He's done about 2 or 3 different videos on this one. This one's for number 140, James Webb's new discovery prompts briefing to Congress people on the mystery of the UFO. Looks pretty interesting. And here's another one of those mainstream articles over at Forbes.com. New search begins for alien super civilizations in 2,800 galaxies. Astronomers have begun a first-of-its-kind search for signs of technosignatures produced by super civilizations, those more advanced than ours, in galaxies beyond the Milky Way. So, again, this is seems like the SETI thing is really expanding, and many people who believe that we are being acclimatized to the idea of big D disclosure suggest that it's little things like this that are priming the pump. This is a vastly different situation than claiming that extraterrestrial or other non-human off-world entities are here interacting with us and causing sightings or close encounters, but it's something. Back at futurism.com's The Bite, and we got another link in the Flipboard to a different article about this. Man spots secret U.S. military spacecraft with amateur telescope, which just goes to the point of how amateur civilian scientists can make discoveries. Just 6 weeks after spotting a secret Chinese space plane, an amateur astronomer in Australia is back at it again. In Austria. Is back at it again. In an interview with Space.com, Skywatcher Felix Schofbanker described how he came to capture imagery of Pentagon craft that nobody knows much about. And moving right along. So our good friend Aaron Gullius, who hopefully will be giving a presentation in the coming months for the Anomaly Academy Cadet tier of Patreon supporters, recently revised. He's celebrating his more than 7 years of doing his Saucer Life podcast. I highly recommend his podcast. I think it's a great exploration of classic cases, classic UFO literature. It's not really about the modern stuff. He occasionally makes some off comments about the current state of ufology, UApology, but he years ago put out a list of what he thought were the most important UFO books. And he's recently revised that. So the list, his original list, includes Flying Saucers, Serious Business, The UFO Controversy in America, which was, I believe, the first his professor, academic historian by Professor David Jacobs on the UFO phenomena, which now there's After the Flying Saucers came by Greg Agigian. The Mothman Prophecies, woohoo, by John Keel. Flying Saucer Occupants, Messengers of Deception by Jacques Vallée. Communion, of course, by Strieber. They Knew Too Much About Flying Saucers. Flying Saucers Have Landed. The Interrupted Journey about the Betty and Barney Hill case. And the UFO Experience, of course, J. Allen Hynek's book. So, update. I recently added the books below to the list and deselected the 3 struck through above. Now, you can't actually see which ones he struck through. So, not sure. But look at what he added. Project Beta by Greg Bishop and Saucers, Spooks, and Kooks by Adam Gorightly. Could not agree more. Project Beta came out in 2005 about the Paul Benowitz affair. Saucers, Spooks, and Kooks came out in the last couple of years by our good friend Adam Gorightly. That's a great explication of the UFO scene of the 80s and 90s. And, of course, Jack Brewer's Wayward Sons about the intelligence community's shenanigans in the UFO scene. as well as, I was kind of surprised to see this, Into the Fringe by Carla Turner. Carla Turner, one of my favorite abduction researchers who sadly is no longer with us, but really, way to go, Aaron, for doing an update on these classic books and adding a few more modern books. I guess really it's only Wayward Sons by Jack Brewer and Saucers, Spooks, and Kooks by Adam Gorightly that are recent books. But they certainly aren't necessarily about the current wave of interest in UAP, which is fine by me. All right. And you can find this over at saucerlife.com. Meanwhile, I only just found Greg Bishop's presentation to the National Museum of Language from several months ago. A presentation on alien writing. Of course, this is a subject that he's been fascinated on since finding out about the amazing Mario Pazziglini, who was an experiencer, possibly an abductee, or possibly a contactee. It's hard to say because Pazziglini really didn't talk about his own experiences, at least not very much publicly. I'm still making my way through this nearly 2-hour lecture by Greg to this National Museum of Language, which apparently was founded by somebody from the NSA. Now, so it's really also very interesting. I suspect that this is perhaps one of the most esoteric presentations this museum organization has ever hosted, but that's just a guess. But love to see my friend Greg talk about subjects that he is so excited and interested in. And you can go check that out for free over at the NML Podium YouTube channel. Again, we'll have the links in the show notes, which will be posted in about a day or so. So check that out. Meanwhile, speaking of Jack Brewer and his cohort, Erica Lukes, they, of course, are hard at work over at their nonprofit, expandingfrontiersresearch.org. And they've put out this very brief 7-minute video and a nice article about this 1950s psychological warfare, intel collection, UFOs, and fascism. Very interesting. So based on documentation that they've obtained through the Freedom of Information Act, they are just pointing out the information that they've found related to the founders of NICAP, the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, one of the original big civilian UFO research organizations, which surprisingly had a lot of psychological warfare people involved in it. And there's some very interesting data that they present in this article and the video. So I really urge you to go check that out. Sticking with the material being unearthed by archives around the world, we have the CBC News Saskatchewan YouTube channel has released this archival video, Unexplained Phenomena in Small Town Saskatchewan 50 years ago. Were there UFOs seen in Langenberg? And I believe this and the other video I'm about to point you to have everything from UFO sightings to crop circles to cattle mutilations. So there's not just this one, which was, I believe, this was released 6 days ago. And then there's this other one, originally broadcast November 4th, 1996, from the archives. Was there extraterrestrial activity in Sask? Now, this one I think is a lot shorter, and one of these features like a kind of a podcast beginning and ending, I think. But man, I'm so glad that there are archives putting out this kind of material. Way to go, folks. And again, sticking with this and relevant to everything having to do with UFOs, UAP, the U.S. National Archives YouTube channel has put out Eisenhower's Military Industrial Complex, Speech, Origins, and Significance. This has been online for about 13 years, but I had not seen this. It's about 3 minutes long and goes into how important this speech has become, how important it was at the time, how it was developed, the speechwriter confirming that as much as he did work on it, that it was really the inspiration of President Eisenhower as he left office. And it is such an important speech. And if you've never heard it, you absolutely owe it to yourself to take a listen. And again, continuing the archiving of classic UFO related material. This one's from UFO B, your UAP library, 1966. Gerald Ford urges for a congressional inquiry into UFOs. Of course, Gerald Ford has his own unique part to play in the UFO history and its legacy. He did, of course, try to get to the bottom of this subject and tried to get congressional hearings. And this is some archival audio. It's only about a minute and 15 seconds or so. A bit longer and very much worth the time is, of course, the Jesse Michaels recent video, Aerospace's Secret Search for Anti-Gravity, where he has a great interview with Nick Cook. Of course, Nick Cook wrote the fantastic and very, very important book, The Hunt for Zero Point. And this is the illustration here of a hovering cigar-shaped object with a pilot coming out and a person who looks like a landing crew or a UFO witness greeting them. And this was the illustration that accompanied the article that started him on his path to investigating as a Jane's Defense Weekly Aviation magazine article, investigative journalist. And I'm not sure if he was an editor, I forget exactly, but I mean, he was a bigwig in mainstream aviation military circles. And for him to do the deep dive that he did and the resulting work is very important. And if you haven't read The Hunt for Zero Point, you absolutely owe it to yourself to do so. He, like people like Leslie Kean and many others, I suppose, and Robert Bigelow, billionaire Bigelow, has also transitioned to having also another interest area besides UFOs and all the many things that might be entree to, has gotten also interested in the afterlife and communicating with the dead. So interesting parallels between Nick Cook, Leslie Kean, and Robert Bigelow there. Let's see, where am I at here? I'm almost done. Almost. So many of you might be familiar with Nextdoor. Oh no, go back. Wait, did it just, oh, there it goes. Hold on, folks. So in my neighborhood or a couple miles away from me is a local, how you say, coffee shop. It's a hemp marijuana oriented coffee shop called Radix, RADIX coffee. And I was recently made aware that they have this giant, like, I don't know, is that like 8, 9, 12 feet tall animatronic alien. And that is being used to promote their coffee location. And here is a little snippet of a video of it moving around with its, it's got some cheesy like theremin or kind of sound effects or something, but just kind of fun and cute. Let's see, moving right along, getting close to the end here, I swear to God. Over at artnet.com in their news section, bikers and off-roaders are endangering ancient Chilean geoglyphs. This is sad. And this involves, here again, the Atacama Desert. There are more than 5,000 geoglyphs there in that desert. Bikers and off-roaders are endangering ancient Chilean geoglyphs. I certainly don't begrudge people having their fun with off-road all-terrain vehicles, as noisy as it can often be and as damaging to the environment as they may be. It's horrific to me that they would be destroying these ancient lines. These geometric, zoomorphic, and anthropomorphic figures may be less celebrated than their Peruvian counterparts, the Nazca lines, but they remain protected Chilean monuments, ones facing a serious threat from human activity, according to the region's cultural activists. At Alto Barranco in the Tarapacá region, an area in the far north of Chile, the most persistent damage comes from motorcycles and 4x4 vehicles whose tire tracks are erasing the geoglyphs. This is just so anger-inducing. Spread over an area of roughly 100 square miles, the more than 5,000 Atacama Desert geoglyphs were made by pre-Hispanic peoples between 1000 CE and 1540 CE, often created on the side of hills. They were made by removing the top layer of rock to remove a lighter underlying soil. It is thought they served as a guide to passing travelers. And in a similar vein, the debrief.org ran this a couple of days ago. Look, over 300 new Nazca lines. Oops, wait, did I not click it? Here we go. Over 300 new Nazca lines, geoglyphs have been revealed by AI. So they're using, this is a great use of artificial intelligence to help detect information that human eyes may not be as easily able to see. Though I bet if you were on psychedelics, you might see it. So this one's reported by Christopher Plain. Some interesting new designs I'd never seen before, including one that they describe as an orca with a knife. And then this one, human and animal geoglyph. I like that one. It kind of looks like a goofy dancing human or alien with kind of a big head alien and some almost giant monkey looking thing. Now there's this bird one. And oh yes, another animal one. Looks very much like something from an anime piece. Ah yes, here we go. The orca with a knife. Oh, I love it. That's great. And then another one, orca with a headdress. Well, that's over at thedebrief.org. And on a similar note, there's this article over at deadbutdreaming.wordpress.com, the in-topic model, bridging ancient art and consciousness. And this basically has to do with rock art. Oh, here we go. Click on the link there. There you go. This one's over at, deadbutdreaming.wordpress.com. And is just talking about the interior origins of the kinds of shapes and lines that people see, and that is believed to have informed this kind of Paleolithic rock art. You might find that interesting. Well, I think that's going to do it for tonight, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, you can tune in. Let's see. Oh, I'm getting all kinds of weird messages over here. All right. Thank you. And good night.
Behold the Anomaly Archives poster. Gaze upon its magnificence. But please keep it down, for there is Shashi the alien. Do not be alarmed. But who is that mysterious MIB digging deep into the files? Steady your gaze. Patty the cryptid is elusive, and to catch even a faint glimpse is quite an achievement. Thrill at the horror of a living challenged apparition who has stopped by to study a forgotten tome. Elsewhere, scattered about, the keen eye will observe artifacts of sacred and forgotten lore. After a long gaze one may grow envious and wish to possess a physical manifestation of this grand visage. What once seemed like an insurmountable expedition is now made into an effortless side quest. For now, at the Archives shop, one can find this thrilling representation available for acquisition, where, among the usual wares, denizens of this fair land will find this and other scrolls, exquisite apparel, hot beverage drinking vessels, and a plethora of other treasures. Enough to satisfy the desires of any who seek the most elusive emotion of all, fulfillment